Ich glaube, das ist nicht gut. Okay. Gauranga. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Oh, it's too loud. Hare Krishna, Hare, that's okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Shri Radha Madhava ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So English, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll be reading continuation from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, or actually this is Transcendental Diary by Hari Story Prabhu. It is interesting, I must say, before I start reading, one more time, when I was doing some research for the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela and his pastimes, tell me when I'm speaking too fast. Sometimes I speak too fast. When the Chaitanya the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were recorded, meaning somebody wrote them down, somebody made notes, and these notes were narrated to another devotee, and this devotee was narrating to another devotee, and this is how Krishna's Kaviraj, he heard all this. He read very few things about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because Krishna's Kaviraj wrote Chaitanya Charitamrita around 70 years after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is already gone. So there was no, like he didn't see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He heard from somebody who heard from somebody. And these are so-called kadachas. Actually, he read kadacha, this is kadacha or notes. It's kadacha of Murari Gupta. Murari Gupta wrote when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Navadvip, child Nimai. Murari Gupta wrote, and later on Raghunath Das Goswami wrote, and few other devotees wrote, but this is not saved. There's no written notes of Raghunath Das Goswami. It's just somebody's heard from somebody and they narrated. This is what we have about Prabhupada, this is like an amazing thing by Hari Shori Prabhu. He actually wrote, every day he was serving Srila Prabhupada and he wrote his notes. So this is like a very authentic life of Srila Prabhupada. Because there are some other notes which are written about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but they're not authentic. There's a book I was telling you, there was a book called Chaitanya Mangala by such and such person. I don't want to name him. And he wrote very strange things. That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is incarnation of Buddha or whatever, some strange things. So this is not authorized. So we have an authorized life of Srila Prabhupada. So I very heartily recommend to all the devotees to read these 5 books, Transcendental Diary. There was a time when I traveled at least a couple of years. I only have 4 books with me. This is the first 4 parts of Transcendental Diary. In this way, if you read these books, you will find out who Prabhupada was, how was Prabhupada dealing with his devotees, and what was Prabhupada's mission. So this is very important not to forget what is Prabhupada's mission. So let's read Prabhupada's life a little bit. We're continuing this a little bit for philosophical part. The real idea of merging, it's, I don't know, it's a page 3, the date is November 6, 1976. And it's a second, third, fourth, fifth, around 7th paragraph, 8th paragraph. The real idea of merging into God existence. You found it? The real idea of merging into God's existence, Prabhupada told us, it is displayed right here in Vrindavan. Just like we are here mixed together, we have got individuality, but for a certain purpose, we are sitting together. Very peacefully. And the real purpose is to learn how to serve Krishna. So when we agree to serve Krishna, then there is mixing up of the devotees. What is Vrindavan? The devotees of Vrindavan, they're all individuals. The gopis are individuals, the cowherd boys are individuals, the calves are individuals, the cows are individuals, everyone is individual, but the purpose is how to love Krishna. That is formless. There is no disagreement in that purpose. The gopis are trying to satisfy Krishna, the cowherd boys are trying to satisfy Krishna, Madhya Yashoda is trying to satisfy Krishna, Nanda Maharaj is trying to satisfy Krishna. The whole center is how to satisfy Krishna. That oneness is required, not that I become one with Krishna. That is not possible. So this is the Bhagavat's instruction. One should not begin to become a guru or to cheat the disciple, showing him a wrong path. This is not good. This is instructed by Rishabha Deva. Jai Shri Vijay Gauranga, Dayani Tai Ki Jai. So this is just a little philosophical point that Prabhupada was one of the, when we chant Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamine, Namaste Saraswati Deve, what? Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi. So this is very important because Prabhupada himself wrote this second part. So understand? The devotees ask Srila Prabhupada, you know, Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamine. This is like a standard mantra for all the gurus. And they said, Swamiji, Prabhupada, we would like to have a second part. And Prabhupada said, okay, I will write the second part. Usually guru, you know, doesn't write about himself. But
first part he has wrote himself too, or not?
First part is like a standard part, you know. Yeah. Like everybody's Namo Vishnu Padaya Bhakti Vinod or whatever. Everybody is. And they ask, but the devotees ask, what is the second part, you know? Should he write it? Or Prabhupada said, I will write. Because the devotees, in the beginning, early devotees did not know anything. So Prabhupada wrote proper Sanskrit. That he wrote because Prabhupada explained what his mission is. And his mission was Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarina. Desha Tarina means Desha means lands, and Desha Tarina means the Western lands. That Prabhupada is this delivering or saving the Western lands from Nirvishesha and Shunyavadi. So Nirvishesha is the, you know, this merging into oneness. And Shunyavadi means nothingness. Shunya means nothing. So Buddhists, they are Shunyavadis. They want to become nothing. Imagine you want to become nothing. Why would anybody want to be nothing? There's so no logic there. First of all, if you want to become nothing, that means that you have some desire. Desire to become nothing. This is so weird, you know. Really, really weird. That the people accept this.
Yes, sir. Is this sort of like nihilism?
This is completely nihilism.
Nihilism?
Completely, yes. Or nihilism, whatever. Nihilism means, just one second, nihilism means that you just don't care. It doesn't matter. And this is completely, in the 60s, this is this philosophy of Jean-Paul Sartre, what is the name, existentialism. And this was the whole point. There's no meaning to anything. There's no meaning. You can drive, you just drive the car into the wall, It doesn't mean anything. And we can see now there's many people behave like this, nihilistic behavior. Taking drugs, for example, is a nihilism. You just don't care. I don't care if I die or whatever. Or people do all kinds of crazy things. This is nihilism. And the Western world is full of nihilism. Shunyavadi. So nirvishesha means merging. And in the early days, as one devotee who says, Srila Prabhupada, but where are the Mayavadis? There's no Mayavadis. And Prabhupada says, you are Mayavadi. You. Me? I'm Mayavadi. Yes, you are Mayavadi. You are Mayavadi means that you think, you are God. This is Mayavadism. And of course, it's a very short version of it, but the real version is that you think you are God and you can extend yourself. Like last night in Bhagavad Gita, we're reading that the real problem in the material world, the people are thinking that I am independent. This is such a how do you say, a very low class realization, I'm independent. You're completely dependent, completely. If you have a problem with digestion, you are dependent very much. If there would be no air right now, what will we breathe? What would you breathe? So you're dependent on air, you're dependent on water. If you don't drink water, how many? 4 days, 5 days, 5, you are dead. 5 days only. And air, 30 seconds, how many? 30 seconds, 1 minute without air, you're dead. And you're walking around so puffed up, I'm independent. It's so stupid, so stupid. But we don't think that way. We think, oh, I'm strong, I'm powerful, I'm rich. You sign very important business. This is so stupid. You're completely dependent on Krishna, on your karma. You're completely 100% dependent. Anyway, so this is the problem. And Prabhupada came to actually solve this problem, nirvishesha shunyavadi. So therefore Prabhupada repeats this over and over. You're not merging, you're not God, you're not God, you're not merging, you cannot become God. So many times, you cannot become God. You cannot. If you have such a miserable condition now. I saw once we were in one preaching in the mountains, in some forest, hippie preaching, and one guy stood up, and we were giving a lecture, and he stood up and said, I am God. Everybody's like, oh, come on, look at yourself, completely dirty hair, and he's God. I said, look at yourself. Have you seen yourself in the mirror? What kind of God are you? God. And first of all, you cannot control your senses. Second of all, you cannot control your hair. Can you say hair, I don't want to grow anymore? No, it is growing. Or can you say, I will not get old, I will not die? And he said, I will never die. Really? So this is such an illusion. People think, I will never die. How can you? Everybody dies. There's no single... Did you meet anybody who is 900 years old? There's no such a person, 900 years old. People die. Anyway, so this is an illusion. The Prabhupada was very much... He came to save people from this illusion. You are not merging, you are not God, and you will not become nothing, because you are something and you cannot become nothing. No matter how much drugs you take, how much, you will still be something. You'll be somebody. And this is what Prabhupada came to teach. So this whole misled Western world. The Western world is completely misled. Yes?
So independence means to deny that we are parts and parcels.
Yes,
That's
yes.
what my wife is
No,
doing.
the independence means you deny that you're subordinate.
Yes. Subordinate, right?
Yes,
That's what it means.
yes.
Because they deny that the energies of Krishna.
Yes.
That's why they exclude themselves from their relationship with Krishna.
Yes.
That's why they have no, because independence means no relationships.
Yes.
Yes, that's why our gurus, they are involving us as much as possible into being dependent on them and serving to them. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that
The,
is
the
really
guru
for
means
us,
teacher.
not
Guru
as-
means teacher, and guru teaches you how to serve, basically, how to be dependent, how to serve.
And one more question for you. So it's not logical for me because it's logical what you say, but I didn't understand it. That they're trying to be nothing. That means if they're trying to be nothing, they are already something.
Yes. So how can something become
no
nothing?
logic to what
There
we
is no example in this world that something became nothing. You know, there is no such an example, is it? Like this book to become nothing. It's not possible. If you burn it, it becomes ashes. You know, it becomes something, maybe in different form, but it always stays something. Or there is no example from nothing to become something. It's like now there's nothing and suddenly there's like ice cream in my hand. You know, it doesn't. There's no such a thing. From something never comes nothing. From nothing never comes something. But still, people are so bewildered that they still somehow they believe this is possible. Amazing. Anyways, but to get this understanding, you require some intelligence, and therefore, real intelligence is a spiritual intelligence, and the intelligence comes from God, comes from Krishna. And the people who don't have intelligence, they don't have intelligence because of their sinful activities. They're too sinful to understand. So in Krishna consciousness, if we don't understand things, this is because of our sinful propensities. That's only why. Sinful. We are sinful, and this sinful sins are still in us. So therefore, we have to clean up these sins so we can understand more and more. This is the whole point. Anyways, let me read the verse. Mano, is it the verse? Mano vachadrik. What is the meter? Mano vachadrik karane hita. Mano vachadrik karane hitasya. Sakshat kritama me paribarhanam hi. Vina pumanyena mahavimohat. Kritanta pasham na vimoktumishe. Manovachodrik karane hitasya. Sakshat kritam me paribarhanam hi. Vinapumanyena mahavimohat. Kritanta pasham navimoktumishet.
Manovachodri karane hitasya.
Manovachodri karane hitasya.
Sakshat kritam me paribarhanam hi.
Sakshat kritam me paribarhanam hi.
Vinapumanyena mahavimoha.
Vinapumanyena mahavimoha.
Kritanta pasana vimoktamise.
Kritanta pasana vimoktamise. Manovachodri karane hitasya. Manovachodri karane hitasya. Sakshat kritam me paribarhanam hi. Sakshat kritam me paribarhanam hi. Vinapumanyena mahavimoha. Vinapumanyena mahavimoha. Kritanta pasana vimoktumishe. Kritanta pasana vimoktumishe.
Ladies. Manovachodri karane hitasya.
Sakshat kritam me paribarhanam hi. Vinapumanyena mahavimoha. Kritanta pasana vimoktumishe.
No human.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir. Can I ask a question about the pronunciation of this verse? The words, like the last word when it has a T in it, you did pronounce
Kritanta pasha navimuktum ishet.
Ishet or Ishet?
Ishet. But because there's this E, like extended E. When you have the extended, you see it like Maha, Ishet. I mean, I'm not a Sanskrit scholar, but this is what Prabhupada gave us, like this. Ishet. Or what is
I don't know, I wasn't sure. I didn't
when you have this, like over A, this is like Vimohat, like extended A. So if you have an I, and these things, this is E, like extended E, Ishet. Again, I'm not a Sanskrit scholar, but this is how Prabhupada told us to read it. So.
Yes, sir.
Manaha, mind. Vachaha, words. Drik, sight. Karana, of the senses. Ihitasya, of all activities. For maintenance of the body, society, friendship, and so on. Friendship and so on. Sakshat kritam, directly offered. Me, of me. Paribarhanam, worship. He, because. Vina, without. Puman, any person. Yena, which. Mahavimohat, from the great illusion. Kritanta pashat, exactly like the stringent rope of Yamaraj. Na, not. Vimoktum, to become free. Ishet, become able. Translation. The true activity, this is Jairam's, your subject. The true activity of the sense organs, mind, sight, words, and all the knowledge gathering and working senses is to engage fully in my service. Unless his senses are thus engaged, a living entity cannot think of getting out of the great entanglement of material existence, which is exactly like Yamaraja's stringent rope. I'll repeat it one more time, just maybe a little bit elaborate. The true activity of the sense organs, we have sense organs, mind, sight, words, and the knowledge gathering and working senses is to be fully engaged in Krishna's service, Krishna says. All these senses and all these things should be engaged. Unless the senses of one person are not engaged in this way, the living entity cannot think of getting out of the entanglement of the material existence. Meaning, unless we engage all these things in Krishna's service, we cannot get out of the material entanglement. Because this entanglement is like a Yamaraja stringent rope. Yamaraja is some kind of rope apparently, that ties you and you cannot get out of this. Purport. As stated in Narada Pancharatra, Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tadparatvena nirvalam Hrishikena Hrishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. Brahmacharis have to learn this verse. This is the conclusion of Bhakti. All the time, Rishabhadeva has been stressing devotional service, and now he is concluding by saying that all the senses should be engaged in the Lord's service. There are, how many senses?
14.
No, first, gathering knowledge.
5?
5 senses of gathering knowledge, yes. And 5 senses with which we work. These 10 senses and the mind should be fully engaged in the Lord's service. Without engaging them in this way, one cannot get out of the clutches of Maya. So this is like a, formula how to get out of this material world. Or how to become spiritual. These people, how do they buy this fancy shawl in India, pashmina shawl, and they wrap, and they buy some candle. You can buy candles. And what's the name? Chakra healing candles. On Amazon you can find Chakra Heilung, the Chakra Reinigung, the Kerze, the Chakra Reinigung Kerze, and then you light these candles, and your chakra gets purified. It's It was 10 euros. I remember we were looking to big a present to somebody, 10 euros for chakra healing. Like a kerze, man. Or ordinary candle, Anyways, but this is not how to become spiritual. People, go to, breathe the air or whatever. They do yoga, asanas, and they like, relax, and they do the shavasana. They lay down and like a, corpse, they're like, and now you concentrate on your left hand. You concentrate left. It's nice, it's helpful and healthy, but this is not how to become spiritual. How to become spiritual, you have to actually do this. This is a practical thing. Engage your senses in the service of the Lord. Because we have these senses, we have them, we cannot deny that we don't have them. We see things. If you see wrong things, this is very bad. If you see good things, it's very nice. So therefore we should avoid seeing wrong things and try to see good things. And good things is seeing the deities, for example, seeing the devotees, seeing Prabhupada, seeing the pictures of Krishna. Therefore devotees there are some devotees, you go to their house or their room, they have pictures of Krishna from floor to the bottom, to the pictures of Krishna. Wherever you go, or ceiling, it's Krishna, everywhere Krishna. And they said, because I have all this Krishna, because I don't want to forget Krishna. I always want to look at Krishna, which is very nice. There's this devotee in Vrindavan that several very, how you say, außergewöhnliche, what is außergewöhnlich? Unusual, out of ordinary devotees, There's one devotee, French devotee, I don't know, he speaks French language. He carries Jagannath Baladev Subhadra in his chest, you know this story. And he's just, every festival he comes in, Jagannath here, like we have a necklace, kette, halskette. So he has a Jagannath Baladev Subhadra. He always carries, everywhere he goes, he goes, here's a devotee. Then there's a devotee who carries Gonita on his head. Wherever he goes, he carries on his head, Gonita. The devotees have Shilas. The devotee who carry, some devotees who carry deities in their bead bag. There's the different kinds of devotees, all kinds of devotees. But the reason, it's a little eccentric, yes. But the point is that they don't want to forget Krishna. They want to remember Krishna always. I was thinking for today, but I didn't want to actually do this experiment, what we did in the Bhakti program 2 years ago. You were not here, Moritz. We did the Bhakti program, and there was one day of chanting. And I brought the bucket. So Krish Kumar gave me a bucket. So you put the bucket in your head, and you chant Hare Krishna. This is an amazing experience. You actually have nothing else. Because the sound goes just around the bucket and it goes straight to your ears. Like now when we chant Hare Krishna, and then a car passes by or somebody. But in the bucket, there's nothing except Hare Krishna mantra. And this is like a very intense experience. If you chant one round, you think like, man, 1 round of hearing only Krishna. But this is how it should be actually. We should always just be absorbed our senses in Krishna. And if you have a bucket and you put a picture of Krishna in front of you, and glue it, and you chant Hare Krishna, you cannot escape Krishna. You cannot escape Krishna. Moritz, you have to try this. And because we cannot artificially stop our existence. You cannot just say, okay, from today on, as I said last night, Kali Yuga, we are so falling and destroyed and useless that we cannot follow any vows, We cannot follow any steady austerities. If somebody wants to chant, from today on I want to chant 120 rounds a day. You will chant 3 days and that's it. You'll get sick or you'll have a toothache or there's always some disturbance and you will not make it. Because we are in Kali Yuga not made like this to be some superheroes. But we have to only understand that we have these senses, and we have these desires, and we have to use them in Krishna's service. And the reason why we have desires is because Krishna has desires. It is described in the second canto of Bhagavatam, when Virat Rupa, this material universe, is created. that this Virat Purusha, the original, the Virat Purusha, how you call this, Virat Rupa of the universal form, also has desires, interestingly enough. Even this material universe itself, which is a representation of Krishna, has desires. It is described as a hunger and thirst. So because of this, we also have hunger and thirst, because we are replica of Krishna after all. Of course, if you misuse it, then we stay in the material world. But the point is that even Krishna has desires. He has desire to eat, hunger and thirst. And therefore, Krishna is eating. Of course, there's a different kind of eating. So, Prabhupada again want to point out that the material, this Virat Purusha, material energy, and Krishna himself are not impersonal or without desire. So therefore, the desire in us is natural. We cannot say, sometimes in the 80s or 90s or 70s, the devotees were like, yeah, this is Maya, material desires. I will have zero material desires. Bang, I will take sannyas, which is a nice sentiment. But this is not the point of Krishna consciousness. The point of Krishna consciousness is understand, okay, I have these desires and I cannot stop them now, but I can transform them into Krishna's desires for Krishna. And this is the whole point of Krishna consciousness. So I will just read now from the Srimad Bhagavatam some verses. How is this manifesting? So that we know better when we desire to eat some nice sweet, then okay, that we can philosophically understand why do I desire to eat nice sweet. So the whole thing first, the consciousness of the living entity is covered by material consciousness. That we are conscious entities, we have our own, life, which is the sign of life. It's covered by material consciousness of conditional life. And once we are covered, then the material energy forces upon us certain things. This is called avaranatmika shakti and prakshepatmika shakti. These are two different energies. And first energy is bewildering, to bewilder you. You're just like bezaubern, Bhakti Moritz sits there and Maya comes like this, and you're like a little bit bewildered. And Maya said, oh, you want the material energy? You said, yes. Okay, then go there. It just pushes you down in the deep well. What is the name of this book? Alice in Wonderland, Is that auf Deutsch?
Hole, right?
Yeah. Alice in Wonderland auf Deutsch?
Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, okay. Alice in Wonderland. And what happened? Somebody just kicked or whatever. She fell into this hole, and she was just falling, and she entered this magical world, whatever. But in our case, this is not. It's a different story. Maya kicks us, said, "Just look at this wonderful thing down," and you're like, Bhakti Moritz is looking, and we are all looking, and Maya said, "Okay, just go there," and just like, you fall into this deep well, dark well, and you wake up and you start crying. And the Kranke Schwester said, okay, the boy weighs 3 kilos and 20 grams, it's healthy, has all 10 fingers, it's wonderful. Bhakti Moritz is growing slowly. I'm just using an example. I'm not figuratively, figuratively. I'm not against you. We all, just you're somehow a good candidate for this. And then you start walking up, and they give you this colorful. These things, and you're like, oh, look at these wonderful colors, and you start crawling a little bit, and your mother said, oh, look at this little Moritz is crawling, and then you make a first step, and all the parents were so proud. Wow, wonderful, he's so smart, and then something you grow slowly, you become a boy, you go to school, and you have your first fight, somebody breaks your nose, whatever. And so on and so forth, and life goes on like this, and you live your whole life with whole drama, with sickness, marriage, divorces, the governments are changing, the politics and this and that, and at the end, when you're whatever 80, 90 years old, you think, okay, I've very dramatic life, I'm very happy and fulfilled, I lived my life in my fullest, and then you die, and then you think that's it, I'm done with this life, but it's not, You're going again, little more, it's maybe not necessarily in a human form, maybe in a rabbit, rabbit family says, okay, look at little Moritz. Little Moritz is jumping, he could jump. He eats the grass, my mother is so happy. Little Moritz knows how to eat grass. And then the wolf comes and, little Moritz is somehow eaten, Only this fur stays, They eat everything, just a bunch of fur stays on the ground, and you walk by and you see, oh, somebody ate this rabbit. The next life, because you're afraid of wolf, the next time you become wolf and you eat, you're like puffed up wolf and whatever. So it's like this. This material energy bewilders us and throws us in this world of perpetual laundry machine, wash machine, there's woo, 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 woo. And we are sometimes up and we think, wow, I'm great, I'm demigod, and then we are down. Then we are in the middle, then we are Shvini Kumaras, then we are in demons. There's all this, you're going back and forth, Bhutva Parliyate, this laundry machine. Until one day somebody comes and says, hey, excuse me, how are you doing today? You have this wonderful books, or we have this wonderful prasadam, or you hear the holy name, and this machine somehow is turned off. Krishna turns on the machine. And so we are still spinning a little bit, but not much. And then this is the chance to use this situation. So this is what's going on here. How do we fall into this material world? Interestingly, Srila Prabhupada says, although the spirit soul does not do anything and is transcendental, he is affected by conditioned life. The soul actually does not do anything. We're just like kind of sitting there, It's like sometimes you have your clothes, You wear some old jeans that you really like. And you wear them for a long time, you sleep in them and you work in them, they get cut or they get dirty, but they're full of, history. But you yourself, you're not affected by this, neither dirt nor anything, it's just your clothes. This is interesting, how our soul is not affected by our activities at all. At all. This is all we are somehow imagining. It's like when we watch a film and we identify with the person in the film and whatever, and somebody comes to kill this person and you say, no! And when they kill you, you feel like you are killed. But it's actually just a film. And what is the film? Film, interestingly enough, is a bunch of light projected on a flat screen. There's nothing real in it. Nothing real in the film. But when we watch in the dark, of course the dark, as Maharaj was yesterday saying, the people go to the club where they're always dark. And then you put your makeup and then you drink a couple of things and you're like, wow, you look so beautiful, Because somehow the dark makes it more real, I don't know. So the same thing in the film. We see the film and we think, oh, I feel so bad. I'm killed, because this, whatever her name is, Annette, is killed. And I identified with her, whatever, Or when somebody beats somebody. I remember when we watched Bruce Lee, I was very young. I was maybe 8 years old, and Bruce Lee was a very big thing at that time. And we watched Bruce Lee and he comes in this yellow, this yellow thing with yellow clothes, this jumpsuit. And he comes with nunchakus, this. And he got cut here, three cuts, and we were like, wow. So when we leave the theater, we all try to be Bruce Lee ourselves, we walk around, 7 years old child, it's ridiculous. And this is what's going on, we identified with somebody we are not. And then we walk around, whatever. And this, we have a big BMW, like puffed up, This is so ridiculous, actually, in reality, because the soul is much, much more than this. So, next, Srila Prabhupada says, the cause of the conditioned soul's material body and senses is the material nature. So material nature causes all these things. It's like material nature is giving all these things, and you think this is what I am. But actually this is given by somebody else to you. It's a foreign object. So, the feelings of happiness and distress of the soul, who is transcendental by nature, are caused by the spirit soul himself. So the spirit soul himself becomes a little bit illusion. He thinks like, what is this? And I'm enjoying this, and I'm suffering this. But in reality, the spirit soul has nothing to do with it. It just somehow get absorbed in this illusory film. It's a film. Once we were distributing books in Seattle, one famous street, and there was one, I like to distribute books in front of one theater, movie theater. And the name of movie theater, if you remember, Jaram, is named Grand Illusion. This is in U District. And I always like to stay in front of Grand Illusion. And you know, there was like a little bit downhill. You go downhill. And there was a grand illusion. And he said, you know, material world is... And people said, oh, grand illusion. Yeah, sure. So, then Prabhupada goes further. The unmanifested, eternal combination of the three modes is the cause of the manifest state, and it's called pradhan. So pradhan is like a material energy, is like a possibility of the material energy. It's like, you know, you have something which is unmanifest, and you make it happen, and this is the cause of the Jai. The cause of manifest state. You know. This is called pradhan. It is called prakriti when the manifested stage of existence. So pradhan means unmanifest, just a possibility, like or some kind of energy, material energy, which is possible to agitate. Krishna agitates it, Vishnu, and from this becomes whole material world. But when it's manifested, it's called prakriti, or the material energy. So the elements, the aggregating elements, the five gross elements, which are
5 gross elements: earth,
ether, bhumi, rapo, nalo, vayu, bhumi, rapo, nalo, vayu, kamano, buddhi, eva, cha. These are the five elements, 5 gross and 3 subtle, but 5 elements: water, fire, air, ether, and what did I miss? Fire. Well, anyways, we don't know. These are the gross elements. So the 4 senses, the 5 senses for gathering knowledge, and the 5 outward organs of action is known as pradhan. So the 5 gross elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Air, I think we missed it. Air. So air and ether. And ether means space, around. This is ether. So we need space. Without space, we cannot, you know, we will be all living like this, you know, all together, you know, squeezed, you know. There will be no space. So we have a space, so we can, you know, there's like some room that we can operate. So all these things there's also 5 subtle elements: smell, taste, color, touch, and sound. The senses for acquiring knowledge and the organs for action, number 10, sense of taste, sense of sight, sense of smell, and the organs of speaking, working. Prabhupada says traveling means moving, generating and evacuating. This is I would assume so. Anyways, and then we have a mind, intelligence, and ego on top of it. So all this, Prabhupada is interesting. He said all these are considered qualified Brahman. The influence of the Supreme Personality of God is felt in the time factor. So this is interesting. The Krishna is actually a time factor. Because without time, this will be also eternal. But because Krishna is there, he presents time as himself as time factor, and this time factor, Prabhupada, the Bhagavatam says, causes fear of death. Interesting enough, it is said here. The time factor causes fear of death due to false ego of the deluded soul. So this soul thinks, I will be died, and I don't want to die, and therefore there's a fear. And we know, Prabhupada explains, and Bhagavatam explains, that everything in this material world, everybody is fearful. Everybody is fearful. Even people, I was just thinking, and what about people who commit suicide? People who commit suicide, they're fearful of pain. They don't want to continue the pain. You know, because they think the pain is eternal, so therefore I want to stop. I want to stop. It's a weird kind of fear, but it's also fear. You know, everybody is fearful in this material world. And people who said, I don't care, they're also fearful. Prabhupada says, if you don't care, I mean, if people don't care, if they're not fearful, why do they build houses? Why do you build a house if you're not fearful? So everybody is fearful in this material world. You know. And the reason for fear is the time. That they think, I will be destroyed one day. I will be sooner or later destroyed. So Prabhupada explained on the end, the material elements were created for the enjoyment of the living entities. The beautiful arrangement behind all material manifestation is therefore made possible by the energy of the Lord. And the individual living entity can only pray for the Lord to understand it properly. So they can pray that they can understand properly this material world. So this is all we can do. Of course, not only to pray, but we also have to do something. But this is a subject of other things. But at least now we know how the material world works, how we work in when we desire something, when we see something with our eyes. We know this is just a covering of the modes of material nature, covering of the material energy. And these senses, what you have, they are like rented. This is interesting. I thought Prabhupada in one purpose says these are the shared facilities. Shared. You know what shared facility means? Yeah, like we rent a house. It's not ours. We are renting. So we are renting these senses. We are renting these bodies. It's a rented property. We are not this. We think we are this, but this is a rented property. And the sooner we understand this, the better. Then we can understand, okay, this is not my body. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Sanatana Goswami came to Jagannath Puri, he was very disappointed with himself. He was drinking some water and he got this disease of the skin. He had all these pimples. And they were oozing pus and blood, horrible, whole body. You know. So he was thinking, why am I... I'm useless. You know, I should kill myself. You know, many times devotees feel like this. I'm useless. Even Raghunath Goswami wanted to kill himself by jumping from the Govardhan hill. He felt useless. You know, so he thought, I'm useless. I should kill myself. And how he wanted to kill himself? When Jagannath cart comes, there's a very big cart, not like ours. You know, you have a very small cart. You can, if you lay under the wheel, it's not. Nothing will happen. You know. But these carts are big and the wheels are big. So if you lay under the wheel, you'll run over by cart, you will die. And this is considered auspicious if you die under Jagannath's cart, somehow. I don't know how, in the tradition, in Puri. So he said, when the Rath Yatra starts, I will lay under the cart and let me kill it. And he was thinking about this, and the Lord Chaitanya came to him and he said, you know, Sanatan, this is a very non-intelligent idea, to kill yourself. And Sanatana was like, oops, how do you know? Of course, he's Krishna, he knows everything. And he said, you want to kill yourself, which means that you want to destroy somebody else's property. Because your body does not belong to you. Your body belongs to me. And Sanatana was like, you know, and he says, Haridas. Haridas, tell him, you know, he wants to destroy my property. You know? And Sanatana was very afraid, you know. And then he explains, he said, you surrender to me, and I want to use your body to do all kinds of services. I want you to write books, I want to go to Vrindavan to discover the places of pilgrimage. So therefore you have no rights to destroy this body. Sanatana felt very ashamed, of course. And he didn't kill himself, on our great happiness, because he wrote very nice books and he discovered nice places of pilgrimage in Vrindavan. So this is also for every devotee or for any person in this material world, that abusing the body, meaning using it for sense gratification, we are using somebody else's property. This cannot be. You have to always understand, this body is a Krishna's property. We put tilak, that means this body belongs to Vishnu, Krishna. You know, somebody asks you, Moritz, what is this yellow senf on your forehead? And you say, this is tilak. And what is tilak? Huh? Len, okay. Len von Krishna, okay, ungefähr. Meaning that this body belongs, this is a sign that this body belongs to Krishna. Or sometimes Prabhupada says, this is the temple of Krishna. It's not just this, this is a temple of Krishna. And our heart is an altar. So we put Krishna on the altar, we clean the altar. You know, I don't know if you have been on the altar, but you cannot leave the, you know, you eat your sandwich and you just leave it on the altar, your sandwich. It's not possible. It's only for Krishna. It has to be very clean. We had the once in Berkeley, this is before you joined, in Berkeley. I went to the temple for some reason. It was a very hot day, maybe over 30 degrees. And I saw one man sitting on the altar. Like a stair, like this. He sits on a stair. And I came and said, excuse me, what are you doing? You know? He said, oh, this is so cool here. You know, outside is so hot. And I saw this building, it's very cool. And I came here. And this place here is very, very cool to sit, you know. I said, I know, but this is not for us. This is for God to sit. I said, oh, sorry, I didn't know, you know. But he was sitting on the altar. Berkeley.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was nice enough, but he just went straight on the altar. So I was just thinking, you know, it's nice to sit on the altar. Because the altar is like a nicest place, you know, it's a cool place, it's a clean place, you know. Because Krishna stands there. And also, Krishna is very close by, so I'm sure he was enjoying Krishna's company for some time. So our heart is the altar. And we clean our heart and keep it very cool, means uncontaminated. And Krishna can come and stand there or sit there. This is the whole process of Chaitudarpana Marjan. Okay, I think this is it for today. If you have anything to say, if not, then yes.
Two questions.
Yes.
My first question is, like, I was not before it in the Bhagavatam lectures. Maybe you can say, like, what is the speech about? Like, from what is the beginning from this chapter, so that I can come into the Bhagavatam.
This is, you can see, you can look at yourself. Why should I look it for you?
Okay.
First of all, because I just came yesterday here, so I don't know myself. But these kind of questions, you can look at yourself. You don't need to ask a speaker, you know, to look it for you. Or sometimes the devotees ask, can you read the verse again, you know? You can read it yourself. You know? Okay.
And the second one is, maybe you can say about something. For me, it's different to understand the working senses. Like, I understand we can see and to taste and so on those things, but the working senses, they're more or less I don't understand.
Jairam, he's the expert on the senses.
Working senses. There are 5 working senses. So these are senses, like you have it. So what are the 5 working senses, right? The sense of evacuation, the sense of regeneration, the sense of working, the sense of traveling, and the sense of speech. It means words are the objects of the sense of speech, right? So these different senses, so what that means is that there is some urge, you have some urge to engage these different senses, right? It's a sense. When we think of senses from a Western perspective, we're thinking we will acquire knowledge with that sense. But that's not actually the summum bonum. That's only one division of the senses. There's senses for acquiring knowledge. It's an instrument. The senses are also described as an instrument in the 18th chapter, verse 18. Right? These are instruments. Right? So body means senses, instruments for engagement in different activities, acquiring knowledge and working as well. Is that easier for you?
Yeah.
Is there something more?
You see, the whole point is to distinguish between the gathering knowledge and acting. You know, when I see something and I see, you know, beautiful flowers, so I gather knowledge for me. This is the knowledge I gather in my mind by seeing, you know. But if I working senses means I want to chew. It's just a mechanical thing. It's nothing to do with, you know, it's a mechanical thing. So that's the working senses, you know. Something like this, isn't it? It's a difference between, but it's just a technical thing. It's just a technical thing after all. Okay.
No, thank you very much. I like this part about the time. I read that so many times, this verse, but I missed that. The time is the cause of fear. That's really nice.
This is what Prabhupada said. This is what Bhagavatam says. Time is, because there was just some time ago, I was looking about the time, you know, and the whole purpose of time is to actually destroy. There's no other purpose of time. The purpose of time is to deteriorate and to destroy. Meaning the purpose of time is there to show you or show us that this material world is temporary. This is the whole purpose of time.
You know, Maharaj said something about this. He was on giving a lecture and he said, or maybe he was, anyway, he said that these dichotomies are not existing in the spiritual world, right? And I thought about it, I had to think about it, because in the spiritual world, of course, we hear pastimes in the evening and pastimes in the daytime.
Yes.
So, but we have a material concept of time.
Yes.
And so the material concept of time is what is not existing.
Yes, this is what it is. Time exists there, it does not exist.
Right.
Like for example, you have even planets, you know, in Goloka Vrindavan, you have planets. Like you see, like for example, Lalita is an expert astrologer.
Oh.
You know, she's looking when is Radharani going to meet Krishna, is it going to be good weather or whatever, you know. She's looking at astrological charts. She has a chart of Krishna, I guess, and she's looking at it, you know. So I was thinking, how can they have a chart? That means that you have all the planets there, you know. But they have planets just to serve for this purpose. It's like a props, you know. It's a lila props. What is it?
So we are discussing really planets in the spiritual world.
It's like a props, you know. Like they have a seasons. It says sometimes, it is described in our scriptures, that in one day, there are all 4 seasons changing. In one day. Summer, spring, snow, everything in one day. You know, I remember reading this, I was like, wow, this is so cool. You know, one day, you know, 1 hour, in the morning is really hot, in the afternoon is spring, and in the evening it's snowing, you know. That's pretty cool. Because these all props to enhance the rasa. Everything in Vrindavan is meant to enhance the rasa. These are not like us, we are like stuck with this thing, you know. Nothing enhances nothing here except the pain, you know. All these planets are meant to enhance our pain in the material world. But there is meant to enhance the rasa. And the time also. Krishna is thinking, oh my God, it's too late, I'm late for this and that, you know, this is just to make rasa more relishable. Or planet, or whatever, there's some other things they have, you know. I mean, where does the snow coming from, you know, from where? You know? So that means there are, you know, clouds or whatever, you know. This is all rasa enhancing things.
Enhance the enjoyment from exchanging and
Yes, everything is meant to enhance in the rasa, in the spiritual world.
That's great.
It's wonderful. So let's go there.
But first we gotta do some service.
To go there, you have to do service. You cannot go without service. Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Dobra.